It's possible would be really difficult. So,
which is really very difficult.
Definitely difficult not to feel that you're failing.
Difficult, darkest of circumstances.
Difficult. A time is there's something beautiful.
It's still a difficult, dangerous,
difficult circumstances you can possibly
been
imagine.
a difficult personality.
Difficult.
Yeah, that was
hide about 2 weeks.
Are making it difficult for you to distinguish.
I think it would have been difficult to do this role.
It was a very difficult shoot, you know, the challenge, incredibly difficult for me. It wasn't like a...
Multi-socializing with other people.
Looking for some men to join me. Is it difficult?
We find it difficult and probably are scared of...
It's quite difficult with the female.
Because it was so difficult. And the more difficult it got, the cooler he thought it was.
I find that rather difficult.
Hell, I would argue with you.
To define. Perhaps I'm just projecting.
I don't know, that's a rather difficult question to answer.
Difficult to put out of my mind.
Difficult time hanging on to clients.
Should I be worried?
difficulty, and he nailed it with such believability.
Very difficult situations.
What this film has to be difficult for a guy like you.
Got to remembering things. You feel like somebody's...
My body.
Are you having difficulty remembering?
Scientific goals. How smear it is.
This stuff that's hard, that's difficult for us. This is what we get.
Strawberries are difficult, especially in a greenhouse.
You know, retirement's much more difficult.
Because it had to be a kid who was kind of tough.
Because I keep sneaking away to hit a goal. It's not so difficult. Surge.
are going to be difficult to squeeze into the movie.
We may be having a bit of technical difficulty.
It's difficult.
Difficult for me to tell you. And not many people know.
For example, I'm going to start with a standing light level of difficulty. Because I got to clear the pool decks.
Difficult, darkest of circumstances.
How difficult a time is. There's something.
Difficulties bring you here today.
Difficult system and all the values of that system.
That would be very difficult, Mr. President.
Difficult that prevent us from being present. Well, it's difficult to...
Well, the city is broke. I don't know how many times I have...
It's difficult to watch. His work is very courageous.
Because what's difficult for people...
Degree of difficulty and blood, sweat and tears to answer that other than that I had.
And difficult part of the entire parts, or you gotta, you know, go on a special...
It's kind of difficult to love.
We are back from...
movie not to enjoy and not to like. For me...
I'm sorry, we seem to be having some technical difficulties.
The film. That's very difficult to do in a movie.
When I first got to know him, he had long hair.
Under very difficult circumstances. Now,
Don't stand up!
these boys know exactly what they're doing.
I do love you, but it's...
The difficulty of portraying somebody.
Adolescence can be a difficult time. It's normal.
The great difficulty is that we
Difficult to get around, and
He's with those folks.
got a spare picture I could borrow.
Is Kong Skull Island sequel? No, not quite. From now on, if you don't toe the line, kind of difficult from now on if you don't toe the line.
Difficulties for everybody.
More difficult to pull off. I think
Difficult context. I was able to just...
Difficult lesson to learn when I was a student. Extremely difficult because I don't know how you would avoid...
In the movies, and some just seem to be big.
Difficult, but we can get there. We can get there.
idea how difficult it is to carry a baby.
I'm a guy.
How difficult it is to carry a baby.
I'm a guy. I can handle it, all right? How hard could it be?
Goal we set out with, a difficult one.
Family are too difficult to face.
Although I find it very difficult to tell the difference.
Too difficult and too bloody for them to stay.
In a case like this one, without any
Difficult to find a key and free them.
And it is really difficult.
Found her a little bit difficult, but they need something.
Difficult to run your entire operation when I've never...
This is really difficult for me to come here.
Difficult for you to distinguish your nightmares from reality.
It's almost unadaptable.
Which is to maintain the concentration.
The difficult thing about shooting in London.
Difficult?
People of Vanna, Zong laid waste to our...
Difficult to do this role with...
Very difficultly.
What?
She's good.
or very difficultly.
What?
She's good.
Any difficulty?
Difficulty socializing with other people, even though.
Some very difficult choices about how to handle that.
Difficult, but this is the right thing.
Nature of the job.
And doing what he thinks.
Just precautions.
She became so difficult, there is a panic.
Most difficult scene was the winter scene. It was very, very difficult. We just kept
Most
going.
extraordinary, challenging, difficult.
Now, the reality is that it's not that difficult to shoot in 3D. I love it when I film
the working conditions for the cast and the crew, because the tussock and the ground's very uneven.
Living out of doors in Middle Earth can be a difficult business, particularly when there's a pack.
It's a little difficult to do a wrap up.
Keep up with them sometimes.
Difficult for people to grasp the scale of. Difficult for any of us to understand.
Difficult scenes, and I just remember grabbing.
Catching a rabbit is difficult.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We have to be.
The environment's brutally difficult. Terrible disease. The environment's brutally difficult. The journey may well. Terrible disease. Murderous savages.
But these days, it's difficult. If it's a dish
What causes him difficult is walking, running.
To act in this difficult environment.
About trading. Dragging fat, dead men into grave. So you were helping her along?
No.
Difficult scene to shoot, and why?
As you had your difficult days.
The new map.
You are an extremely difficult person to keep track of.
Everyone, but it doesn't have to actually.
Occasionally is a technical difficulty.
Very, very difficult to get anybody to go on the record.
To act with, especially when you're doing fight.
It was difficult. It was really difficult. It was very physically.